Hello everyone. In the previous video, I talked about when to choose TON over TOF, on delay over off delay. In this video, I'm going to talk about the opposite. When it's the situation, we need to choose the off delay TOF over the on delay TON. So firstly, let's review what we should think about before we make the decision. So we have two different type of basic delay, on delay, off delay. Right? Both provide two timing functions. Right? Normally open, time close. Normally close, time open from the on delay. Normally open, time open. Normally close, time close from the off delay. And the PLC instruction, we just use the exam on, exam off on the done bit, right, to choose the different timing function. So as you can see on there, so that's why on the design consideration, we first need to think about what's the timed or done action, right? So that's the second part, the last part of all these functions: time close, time open, time close, right? There's two different type. But we need to think about, we need to figure that out first. Then after that, we need to look at what's the normal action, right? If it is open or close required from the timer, which means the first half, right? Normally open or normally close. Once we decide those actions, based on that, we need decide which timer is the a better suitable action option for that situation, right? So I will use again, I will use examples to explain that. How do we think about that, right? So the first two were already covered in the previous video, right? So in this video, we're going to talk about the other two example. So let's look at number 3. So this one, we want to control a cooling fan, and the control device is select the switch SS. So when the SS is on, that is closed, right? The fan start to run, right? So that's pretty obvious, right? And we want to have a delay that when the switch turn off, because it's a cooling fan, we want the fan will run 4 actual seconds, right? So based on this, you can see the timed action is to turn the fan off, right? Continue to run 4 seconds. That implied eventually will turn off, right? The fan will turn off. It's just for actual 4 seconds. So that tell us the timed action is timed open, right? After 4 seconds, turn open, right? And then normal operation, that means when the select switch is not turn on, it's not activate. So obviously, if the switch is not turn on, the fan should be off, right? So the normal action we should have with the timer is also open, right? So if you don't turn on the switch, the fan should be off, right? So that means the timer is supposed to give the open output, right? And then when the switch is turned on, you have immediate close, right? If you remember on the previous video I talked about, this is a typical off delay, right? Normally open, instant or immediate close. And then after that has a timed open, right? So this is why, based on this, we need to use TOF. TOF is better choice and over the TON, right? So let's look at the to 5,000, right? So this is the switch from to control the fan, right? And the cooling fan output, again, this is a double integer dot 0, so that's a boolean, right? So right now I'm using the NOTO, TOF is better than the TON, right? So if we have the switch is open, right now the value is 0, right? The fan is stopped. So if I toggle that, close the switch, you can see the fan right now it's on immediately, no delay at all, right? Because we choose off delay, right? And if sometime later we toggle that switch, the switch gonna turn off. We want the fan run 4 actual seconds. You can see here it's still running, and then 4 seconds the fan turn off, right? So that's exactly what the requirement shows, right? So at the bottom, you see here, again, I want to present the full combinations, all right? So we still use off delay, right? Different timer, but this time the switch is some weird combination setup, right? So when you want to turn on the fan, you make it open contact, right? Again, it's weird, but I just want to show the different type of trigger can do the same thing, right? So as long as we choose the right timer, right? So you can see here, they are the opposite, right? So right now you can see this one is normally open type, value is 0, and this one is normally closed type, the value is 1. They are opposite because on the main routine I already switched them, right? So now if I Control T to turn on, so you can see both fan turn on, no delay at all, right? So if I Control T again, turn it off, both start delay. After 4 seconds, both turn off. So they have exactly the same operation, right? Because they are both off delay, right? Even though different type of trigger, right? So let's look at the now let's look at if you want to argue, if you say, okay, uh, what about on delay, right? I can see off delay is it's working, it works, but if we can make the off delay uh, with on delay, all right. So on here, this is the original, all right. This is original. I will zoom out a little bit in order to make more space on the right-hand side. On the right-hand side, we will look at the options with on delay, right? So over here, here. So this time, notice here, we want to use a different timer with the TON instruction, right? So alternative, right? So we use on delay and with normally open type of trigger, right? It's not normally closed, it's still same type of trigger, right? But because it's on delay, right? So on delay need trigger to be on, right? But when we want to turn on the fan, right, we switch on the the switch, right? Then that means we have to choose the opposite in order to trigger the on delay, right? Hopefully that you follow my logic on here, right? So because on delay, right, we want to have the timed open. So the only option with the time open on delay is normally close. You can see here, normally close, timed open, but it has a problem with the normally close. After download with 0, the trigger, the output is on for 4 seconds. All right, so let's simulate that. All right. Again, it will probably will take some time. All right. So right now, you can see this is 0, right? And we're using example for the on delay. So I'm going to download, right? Download, set to run, because I mentioned here after download with the 0. Let me start the download. So after download with 0 trigger, the output is on for 4 seconds. So that means this cooling fan should not start because the trigger is off, but it will run for 4 seconds before it turn off. So that's the problem. A solution you can see here, I'm going to demonstrate that. So we need to use the, again, first scan to set up the TON to the done state in order to prepare this timer to run, right? Because somebody want to argue, right? Argue that on delay will do the same thing as off delay, but it will work, but you have to do something extra. This is something I will demonstrate. All right. Again, just waiting for the download. All right, so this is not frozen. It's just waiting for the, yeah, it's finalizing, right? So, okay. Here's moment of truth, all right? So over here, this is 0, right? And what I download is 0, and when it's run, we will see this fan dot 2 will turn on right away when the PLC start to run. That's not right. That's wrong, right? Because the switch right now is off. Let's see here. You can see here, it's on right away. After 4 seconds, it will turn off. Right, that's just because we choose this type of timer, this type of output, right? To solve the problem, like I suggest, you could try different solutions. All right, the solution I can have over here is to zoom out a bit. All right, so I want use the first scan, SFS, first scan to prepare the timer. This time I want set the date to done. So how do we do that? If you remember with the off delay, we did something similar. We just move MOV, we move, zoom out a little bit more. We move the preset, this timer dot PRE preset into the accumulate. Over here, I need to choose accumulate. So that will put the timer into done, right? Because the ACC accumulated to the preset is the done bit. So we basically preparate this timer into done, and then that will start on the actually, I should get offline in order to show you. All right, so now I can get off. I don't have to go do it online, but in order to show you the difference. All right, so I got offline now. Right now it's 0 if I download, and let's take the time download again. This time because of this, we set the timer to done. Then the fan will not turn on at the beginning. All right, so I hope I will not re-download again. It just takes too long to finish the download process, right? So hopefully it will finish very quickly, right? So this is just a parallel branch, right? So not only the switch as a trigger, we want to process the first scan, right? As you can see here, it's getting more and more complicated on the logic, right? It took me a while to think of this solution, right? So that's why you see here, right? This off delay is better solution than the on delay, even though we can achieve the same result, identical logic, but there's some solution is better than the other one. All right. So right now, that's a moment of truth, right? So right now it's program mode. If I change into run mode, that will go through the pre-scan, then go to the first scan, then we'll see if this solution will work. So we want to see both fan will be off at the beginning because the trigger is off, right? So let's see here. It's good, it's off, right? You can see here, we already set up that as a 4 second, right? So that's good. So now if we do the testing, turn on, close the switch, you can see both. Actually, now you can see 3 fans turn on at the same time. they have the same output. So now if I open the switch, right, both three actually all of them will be on for actual 4 seconds, right? If I turn back on the switch, 3 fans are on in the same time, right? And now if I turn it off, then actual 4 seconds, it turns off, right? So again, you can use TON is good. You can use it, but it's something actually you have to do, right? So because we are on this, I want to show you something actual solution. I'll move this one back to here. I'll open this one. So instead of that solution, I can have a different solution as a exercise. All right, so we'll look at that. So this is the 3-1. I want 330, 30. So this is the original solution on the left-hand side. Right, on the right-hand side, we'll look at the different solution. Right, solution 2 and solution 3. Solution 1 we use the solution 1 is this one, right? Solution 1, this is here, right? We use the first scan, right? So let's look at different solution as exercise, right? So this time we still want to use on delay, right? We want to see if we against what I mentioned, the selection guide, right? So if we against this, what will happen? Right? That means you need to do something extra, right? So we still want on delay in a situation which is better suitable for off delay, right? So that's what we are doing now. So we can have a different solution. This solution is that we want have a 3-wire control, right? So we don't need to add the first scan on here. We look at if we directly use the dumb bit, what we are going to do, right? So first, dumb bit is like the stop button, right? So the start button is the switch. So why don't we just add the start? So over here, this, we can consider that as a start, right? Because that start with the fan, right? Start with the switch, right? So when switch is closed, we want to turn on the fan. And when the timing finished, done, we want stop the fan, right? But the problem with that is remember when the switch turn off, we want to keep running. But when the switch turn off, this one will become false, right? That will not let the continue path to go on to the next one. So that means this is like a start. We need to bypass it to seal in this by the output, right? So over here, we just use the output. Once the output turn on, we want to keep having the continue path until the stop condition met, right? We start from here, stop at here, but the start will turn off before the eventually turn off. So that's why we need to bypass it, right? Typical 3-wire control logic, right? So we finalize this, then let's look at here. So right now, switch is off, fan is off, right? So now if this is another solution, right? So we'll talk about we're using the TT bit. Don't worry about the here. Then let's look at these 3, right? So if I toggle the switch to turn it on, 3 fans turn on, right? You can see here, right? So you can see this 3-wire control start and stop, right? And then bypass on here. So now let's look at when we turn off the switch, this will become false because this seal in keep going until the timer finish, right? So that's the stop, right? So let me demonstrate again. When the switch turn on, everything is on, right? All the 3 fans turn on, right? And then when I open the switch, right, this will become false, but this will continue carry on until the dumb bit, right? Toggle and then turn off and keep going for 4 seconds, on here and then turn off. Okay, so you can see again, all right, because this situation is better suitable for the off delay, but if you have to use on delay, so this is the price you have to pay. You have to have something extra with the logic. All right, then let's look at the solution 3. I just want to have fun with with this type of setup, right? This time we choose timer timing bed because remember we have 3 control bits from the timer: enable bit, done bit, and timer timing, right? So with this, I'd like you to look at the timing diagram on the point, all right? Because we are talking about number 3, we look at here. Let me explain on here. So this is the timing diagram actually we are working on right now. So when switch is normally open type, right? When switch is open, the fan is off. When switch is on, you can see here, the fan is on for this, right? When switch turn off, it has 4 more seconds on the fan. Right. So you can see here that is the 4 seconds delay. So we can consider this as you can see here. The first part is totally controlled by the switch. And then the second time, it's just the second part is just the 4 second when timer is running. That's exactly there the timer timing bit turn on. So we can use that to use for the next solution on here. So this one, when timer is timing, the fan we want start to turn on that, right? So, but we have to insert the switch on here. So that's just do it on here, all right? So drag this trigger into here. So when trigger is on, the fan is on, right? And when the trigger is off, as long as the timer timing is running, we want to turn on the fan. But remember, logic-wise, we need to have a continual path, right? So on here, let me see if we can do that. Temporary, I'm a little bit confused by my solution on here. Dominated reset. Okay. Yeah, let me just keep going. I think over here we need to have the something. Yeah, yeah. I know what I mean, right? So over here, so there has another problem. Okay, so let's see here. Also with the beginning, I think that's where's the problem I remember. All right, so again, unfortunately, we have to go download again. All right, so with 0, right, with trigger 0, let's download again. If we download, I remember that because of 0, this one is true, and yeah, but that will trigger a timer at the beginning, right? And then the timer timing will start, and then you will see the fan dot 4 will turn on. Same problem as before. We have a 4 actual seconds at the beginning, right? Beginning when the fan is the switch is open, the fan should not turn on. But if we directly use TT bit to trigger that, that will start the fan right away because this is the trigger going to on delay. right? So again, this solution, we don't involve the first scan, so that's why we have this kind of consequences, right? But I know the solution, I can present that after that, all right? So I just hope the download can finish very, very quickly, all right? So again, this is the download finish. Right now it's in the program mode. If I click confirm to run mode, you will see this .4 will turn on right away, which is wrong. You can see here, right? Because TT bit is on. So only after 4 seconds, it turns off, right? So in that situation, we need to have something to insert in there in order to block that. So the solution I can think of is that we use same thing. We use the output, right? So we use the output to bypass and also to block in here, right? So if you do this, yeah, that's called dominant reset, right? Yeah, also another variation of the 3-wire control, right? So this time I don't want to go offline download again. Let me see if I can uh, persuade you on here. All right. So let's remember that program mode, right? So we're in program mode, right? And now I need to switch that to open, right? So that's the situation we had problem before, right? And this is a program mode. Now if I change to run mode, right? Before we have the switch turn on, right? The fan turn on. It should be off now. Oh, let me see. Yeah, oh, that's good. That works, right? You can see here, right? It didn't turn on, right? So that because of this, right? Again, these two, if you look closer, this is just variation of the 3-wire control. One is dominant reset, the other one dominant set, right? So this is the example number 3. And let's look at the example number 4, right? This example is also interesting. All right, let's look at here. So a solenoid valve for the sidewalk sprinkler is controlled by a photosensor, right? This photosensor detect the pedestrians. When a the sprinkler is turned off when there's people around there, right? And then 2 seconds after the photosensor become inactive, so that means people walk away, then the sprinkler automatically turn back on, right? So again, you can see the timing diagram, right? So I just want to demonstrate this on here. So the photosensor is not active. That means no people around, right? The sprinkler should be on. And then the photosensor become active, and you want to stop the sprinkler, right? And as long as people is there, the sprinkler is off. And then when people walk away, we want to wait for 2 more seconds before turn back on the sprinkler, right? So you can see this is typical. Normally, right over here, this part tells you this is normally closed, right? You want to turn on the output. And after the time, this part, right, timed close, right? Over the time, close that. So with normally closed, time close, it's normally closed, time close, provided by off delay. You have to use this, right? Exam off with the done bit, right? Let's look at the demo on here. Let me open it. Close off. And then clear. Let's look at example 4. And this is the other the other one. All right. So let's look at here. All right. The optical sensor, right? Optical sensor right now, you can see it's 0. I assume this is normally open type, this is normally closed type. Let's look at the, we don't look at the normally closed. Let's look at normally open type first, right? Normally open, right now value is 0. That means no people is around, right? So then we have the valve energized, right? It's spreading the water. And then when people walk in here, and then that will trigger, you can see that turn off immediately, right? I changed that at the time to 4 seconds. 2 seconds is too short to observe that, right? So if we simulate people walk away and then that turn off and start for hold for 4 seconds, then turn back on, right? And then here's another people come in, closer, right? Stop and walk away, and then we'll hold for 4 seconds. It comes back, right? Because it come back, people can walk back. Well, the next people come in, right? It still didn't turn on, right? So we have to wait for the preset time finish, then turn back on. Okay, so you can see here the second solution here, alternative 1, right? So we use timer off delay, right? So that's the better choice. But this time we have a normally closed type of sensor, right? Sensor can have both normally open and normally closed, but that doesn't matter, right? PLC instruction has the flexibility. We can just use exam off to check out that. So they should have the same result, right? Like right now, you can see dot 0, dot 1, they are both on. They should operate exactly the same way, right? Turn on and sprinkler stop, and turn off and 4 second delay, and turn back on. Right? Again, that's the same operation, right? So again, this is the situation is better for the off delay. But off delay, it has its reason for exist in here. Right. So, but if you have to argue with on delay, so if I want to choose on delay to do the same thing, you could, but that's something you have to work on that. All right. So, okay. I think I have part of solution in here, but not totally finished. So over here on delay, get true on TO1. Yeah. So remember that we have a similar problem with the fan control, right? There's the cooling fan. Remember that I just talked about on the previous one. Same thing. I don't think that's finished. I missed that part of that. So we should to have a parallel branch. Remember here, I make a note on here, right? Set that to done. So we will use this exam on system first scan to MOV the timers. I don't know. I supposed to finish this, but I don't know why I forgot preset into. Okay, so right, so this is pretty much the same as before, right? And let's look at the solution 2 here. Solution 2, little bit weird, complicated. So again, that's the cost because you have to use on delay where the off delay is the better choice, right? So if you insist to use the on delay where you're supposed to use off delay, this is what happened here, right? I already have solution on this. We can just, I'll explain that, right? So with solution 2, similar to the previous one, we use the dumb bed to control that. But at the beginning, at the first scan, there's some trouble with the on delay, right? That has to be dealt with, right? I don't want to go into too much details, and but anyway, solution is here. You can try by yourself if you want, if you're really interested, or you can also try to find your own solution, right? And this alternative 3 is the TT bed. Right, you can see here, this is a 3 parallel branch with this, right? Again, it's very complicated. It took me some time to come up with the solution. All right, so I just want to show you this is not a really good choice where when the off delay should be in place. All right, so you can see right now the .0, .2, 3, 4 they all on. So this is the solution. If I toggle that, it should be exactly operate exactly in the same way, right? When the switch optical, the photo sensor is on, the sprinkler stop, right? And then when the photo sensor become inactive, no people around, we will start a 4-second delay, then they turn back on in the same time, right? And then if you have next one, and then you should see the same result. All right. Over here is just, again, if you really want to look into this part, over here is just because we have the first scan need to take care with the on delay. And also over here, same thing with the dumb bed. All right. So there has been a very, very long demo, right? So I hope with all these solutions over here, you can help you to think, to make it a better decision when you start to design the timer instructions. All right. Okay.